There is something disarmingly familiar about. She is not the flawless heroine of classic romance, nor the self-possessed feminist icon who always knows what she wants. Belly is awkward, impulsive, romantic to a fault, and that is precisely why audiences recognize themselves in her. Yet it is also why she remains the most divisive character in The Summer I Turned Pretty. The trouble with Belly isn't that she is unrealistic. It's that she is too real, and the show sometimes struggles to fully reckon with what that means. At the heart of Belly's story is transformation. Each summer at Cousins Beach becomes a symbolic checkpoint in her journey from childhood invisibility to teenage desire. Belly measures her worth through how others see her, especially through the gaze of the Fisher brothers. This is understandable. She is young, emotional, and newly aware of her own attractiveness. But the trouble begins when this external validation becomes the foundation of her identity. Belly doesn't just want to be loved. She wants to be chosen, and that need shapes nearly every decision she makes. Belly's romantic indecision is often cited as her biggest flaw. Her oscillation between and frustrates viewers who crave clarity and loyalty, but reducing her to indecisive misses the deeper issue. Belly is not simply choosing between two boys, she is choosing between two versions of herself. Conrad represents intensity, mystery, and the ache of first love. Jeremiah offers warmth, safety, and being wanted without conditions. Belly's problem is that she wants both feelings at once, without fully accepting the consequences of either. What makes this troubling is not the confusion itself, but how little accountability Belly often shows for the emotional fallout she leaves behind. She reacts deeply to her own pain, yet seems slower to recognize the pain she causes others. When she hurts Conrad, she frames it as heartbreak. When she hurts Jeremiah, it becomes collateral damage in her quest for clarity. The show sometimes romanticizes this pattern, treating her emotional turbulence as poetic rather than problematic. Another layer of trouble lies in how Belly processes grief. The loss of Susanna hangs over the series like a quiet storm cloud, influencing every relationship and choice. Belly is grieving not only a beloved adult figure, but also the innocence of summers that will never return. Her emotional volatility is, in many ways, a grief response, yet the show often uses her grief as justification rather than exploration. Belly lashes out, pulls away, or makes impulsive romantic choices, and the narrative rushes to forgive her without fully examining how grief can coexist with responsibility. Belly's self-centeredness is also inseparable from her age. She is a teenager, and teenage perception is famously narrow. The world feels intensely personal, everything happens to you. Belly's narration reinforces this lens. We see events filtered through her emotional reality, which means her hurt is always foregrounded. This storytelling choice creates empathy, but it also shields her from critique. When the audience is always inside Belly's head, it becomes harder for the show to step back and say, "This choice hurt someone else, and that matters too." There is also the issue of agency. Belly believes she is finally taking control of her life, but much of her sense of power comes from being desired rather than from making grounded decisions. Her glow-up gives her social capital, but not emotional maturity. She equates attention with worth, love with validation. This isn't a moral failing, it's a developmental one. The trouble is that the show often frames these moments as triumphs instead of growing pains. And yet, this is where Belly becomes compelling rather than merely frustrating. She is not static. Each season chips away at her illusions. She begins to realize that love is not just about intensity or comfort, but timing, honesty, and emotional labor. Belly's mistakes accumulate, and slowly, so does her awareness. She starts to understand that wanting something doesn't automatically make it right, and that being loved doesn't absolve you from the responsibility of loving well in return. The true trouble with Belly may be that viewers expect her to be more evolved than she is meant to be. We want her to communicate better, choose more decisively, hurt people less. But The Summer I Turned Pretty is, at its core, a coming-of-age story. Belly's flaws are not bugs in the narrative, they are features. She is messy because growth is messy. She is selfish because adolescence often is. The discomfort we feel watching her may be the point. In the end, Belly Conklin is not a model of how to love, but she is an honest portrayal of how love feels before wisdom catches up with desire. The trouble with Belly is also her gift to the story. She reminds us of who we were when emotions were louder than logic, when summers felt infinite, and when we learned, sometimes painfully, that growing up means learning how not to hurt the people we love.